But to me, where I kind of turned on Obama, because full exposure, I was a big Obama guy in 2008, like many of you. I was a little more naive back in those days. But where Obama lost me personally was when 20 school children were slaughtered in elementary school. He didn't do a goddamn thing about it. Didn't do a goddamn thing. Let me tell you something. And granted, I'm not president. I know that there's a lot of obstacles. But when 25-year-olds are slaughtered in an elementary school, if you are a progressive, forget progressive or labels. If you are a good person, if you are somebody who believes in basically right versus wrong, when you are a person that has children or has family, I have a nephew, for example, and I just found out a niece. I have a niece on the way, so cheers to my brother. When you, under your watch, and by the way, it's not Obama's fault that a lunatic went in there and shot up 20 kids. These gun policies or lack of gun policies go way back before Obama. I'm not blaming him for Newtown. But as president, if you don't, at that point, take the moral imperative to make that your main mission, if anything else is done in your presidency to stop gun violence, then you're not a leader. Because what Obama did was come out, give a very heartfelt speech. He cried. I remember he said that this was the worst day of his presidency. And then he put up his hands and said, there's nothing I can do. The Republicans won't work for me. They won't work with us. There's political realities here. No. When 20 school children get shot up, and I also don't want to ignore there were also 6 other adults who were killed. When 20 people, 25-year-olds get shot up, that is the moment. And if you're a true leader, you understand when you are upon a moment in history, that is the moment where you seize. That is the moment when you barnstorm the country and you shame Mitch McConnell and you shame Paul Ryan and you shame, I don't care who it is, Republicans and corporate Democrats like Joe Manchin of West Virginia and all these Democrats who are bought off by the gun lobby. Ruth said it right. That's a defining moment. And you don't rest. You take your mouth, take some signage, put up the word 90% of Americans agree with background checks. That's the moment you do that. You don't just say, you don't listen to your advisors say, oh, well, the NRA, and there's just realities. Let me tell you something. It's a lot easier as a journalist or a commentator, whatever, criticizing other people. But if I was president, if it was the only thing that I accomplished, even if I couldn't get it done, I would have went around the fucking country and I would have shamed every last one of them. I would have pointed out the information is public. How much money these people that won't vote for background checks, won't vote for less ammunition, won't vote for smart guns, which put a sensor on guns so your kid can't steal your gun and go shoot it, which is what happened in Newtown, which is what happened in Columbine. I would have went around the country and I would have shamed them all. And I don't care if it was politically expedient, because you know what happens when you don't do something like that? When you don't make it a moral imperative? There's a lot of talk about how we've normalized hate with Donald Trump. Well, when you allow 20 school children to get shot up and murdered and you don't do anything about it, then that becomes normalized. I'm sorry. And you know what? If he failed, he failed. But at least he would have tried. When you're president of the United States, when people vote for you twice, people are depending on you to be their voice, to fight for them, to fight for their children. When pundits on TV or politicians say, oh, what about our children and our grandchildren's future? Well, your children and your grandchildren don't have a fucking future if deranged people can buy a gun with barely a background check and go in and slaughter 20 of them. I'm not trying to fearmonger and I'm not trying to scare you. But that was normalized and Obama didn't do a goddamn thing about it. And I don't want to hear, oh, he was up against the NRA. And oh, they were already talking about, Obama's coming for your guns. Well, look what Bernie Sanders just did. Just by fighting and voicing policy positions that, by the way, 90% of America does not agree with Bernie Sanders. And look what he was just able to do. Imagine if Barack Obama did what Bernie Sanders just did and went around the country and waved his hands like this and shamed Republicans with 90% of people that want tighter background checks. And by the way, all it takes is one victory. If he would have got the background checks, you know what happens after that? Then you move to an assault weapons ban. One victory leads to another victory. As far as I know, Bernie Sanders is for tighter background checks. He has voted for assault weapons ban. There's a lot of things I could say where Obama lost me, but for me personally, that's where he lost me. And you know what? I don't even have children. But just as somebody who cares about humanity, I think it's a monumental country-changing event when 20 school children are shot and murdered in a classroom. I think it's a disgrace that the corporate media, or any media for that matter, has just kind of moved on from that. Because when after gun violence and after these murders, what do you see? It's like the same script. It's always the same script on CNN and MSNBC, on social media. Oh, our thoughts and prayers, our thoughts and prayers. And we have a bullshit debate on CNN about gun rights versus gun control. Nothing ever changes. I'm probably moving back to New York City soon. For those of you who are brokers and don't want to charge me. I'm looking for an apartment. I could go into the subway tomorrow and get shot up. There's no safeguards. You could go to a movie theater right now in America and get shot up. You can go to the mall right now and get shot up. You can go to church right now and get shot up. You can go anywhere in America and get shot up because we're awash in guns. We are awash in guns. And this isn't like my attempt to be your preacher or your pastor. I'm just saying crazy shit, immoral shit is normalized when our leaders don't go to hell and back to fight for it. And that's where Obama lost me. So that's my thoughts on Obama's press conference. This is my second rant of the day. My blood pressure is starting to go. President Obama wasn't all bad. He certainly wasn't all good. I have pointed out the things that I think were good, and I've pointed out the things that I think are bad. I think he's a hypocrite like every politician. I think he's going to go write a best-selling book. I think in 10 years, he's going to be enshrined. Just like suddenly George W. Bush isn't as bad. The media is starting to paint Bush. Oh, Bush wasn't that bad. I mean, Bush should be in prison. That's where George Bush should be. George W. Not his dad, who, by the way, is in the hospital right now, if you didn't know. You could look at it black or white. On one end, you could say Obama's Satan. On the other end, you could say Obama's a saint. It's neither one. I know my friend Jimmy Dore thinks it's one of them, and I love you, Jimmy, but I don't agree that he's all bad. But that's what I think about Obama. That's what was his press conference.